What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Toyota Owners 400 Top 5 DFS Picks video for Sunday, April 3rd at Richmond Raceway. As always, I'm your host, Chris Pennell. You can find me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16, and this video is presented by PrizePicks. In today's video, we are going over general track strategy, how to approach the slate from a DFS perspective, and my top 5 favorite picks on the slate. Keep in mind this video is being recorded pre-practice and qualifying, so some of my thoughts and opinions on these drivers could end up changing throughout the weekend, and we have seen practice times translate into race speed so far this year. So it'll be very beneficial to you keeping up to date on what happens throughout the weekend as far as practice and qualifying goes. But if you want more up-to-date and in-depth analysis on what happens throughout the weekend, you can find me and Jason on the Awesemo Live Before Lock show, where we break down the entire slate and answer any questions you may end up having. And as far as how we should approach the slate from a DFS perspective, it's going to be quite the opposite of what we had last weekend at a road course where we had less than 70 laps and less than 50 dominator points available to us. We have 400 laps around Richmond this weekend. It's a very short track, so dominator points are going to rack up in a hurry. We're talking nearly 300 total dominator points. So making sure you get at least 2, sometimes 3, and maybe even 4, depending on the pricing and roster construction you're going with in your lineups, is going to be very important to try to take down tournaments this weekend, because place differential has been king at most tracks this year. But when you have 400 laps, making sure you get dominators in your lineups, and if you don't know what dominators are, these are guys that can potentially lead laps and get fast laps, which those rack up in a hurry at a very short track. So making sure your key emphasis this weekend is on dominators is going to be very, very beneficial to you. So getting into the picks, we will start with number 5, and we have Dillon, $7,000 over on DraftKings, $8,000 over on FanDuel, so it's pretty cheap on both sites, and I just simply think he's underpriced. I know he's never a flashy play, but he's usually pretty consistent, and I'll take a boring, consistent play any day at a cheap price point. He actually has a very good track record at Richmond as well, with an average finish of 10th place the past 6 races, 4 top 10s and 5 top 15s, and he's been good at pretty much every single track type since the beginning of the past couple of seasons. So I'm all in on Dillon here at this price. He allows me to fit in some extra studs up top, guy averaging around 50 DraftKings points per race, and he was actually a dominator at one race a couple of seasons ago at Richmond during the night race, so it's not out of the question, especially with these new cars, that he could potentially get up front. But I'm mainly playing him as a top 10, top 15 guy. It will depend a little bit on where he qualifies, but I think either way he should be able to hold his ground and contend for a top 10 on Sunday. And moving on to number 4, one of my favorite plays on the slate, we have Tyler Reddick at $8,200 on DraftKings and all the way up to $10,800 over on FanDuel. So it looks like he's definitely a lot better of a value over on DK, but on both sites, he's definitely going to be a staple of my lineups. He's got odds close to near the very top this weekend with guys like Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, and the speed has been there all season for Tyler Reddick. He has an average finish inside the top 10 so far, one of the best running positions, one of the best drive ratings, 2 top 5s and 3 top 10s. We don't have a large history of him at Richmond, and it hasn't been insanely impressive. We did finish in the top 5 at Phoenix earlier this season, which is the only other short flat track we've been to. And I've been betting on driver talent so far to start the season in this next-gen car, and Tyler Reddick is near the very top of the list as one of the most talented drivers in the field. So this price on DraftKings, it's going to push him towards very heavy ownership no matter where he starts. But he's a potential dominator. He's got top 5 upside, and this price is way too low. And moving on to number 3, we have Chris Pennell, $8,700 over on DraftKings, $9,000 over on FanDuel. I know it hasn't been fun to trust the Toyotas so far this season, but we are the Toyota Owners 400, so maybe the Toyotas do bring some extra juice this weekend. But any single time we had a short, flat track, Chris Pennell will be on my radar. And so far in his Cup career at Richmond, it's not a huge sample size, but he's averaging close to 60 DraftKings points per race, an average finish around 7th place. He's got a couple of top 5s and top 10s. And in the Xfinity Series, he absolutely dominated this track. So again, the Toyotas have not been that great this year. And for the most part, I am betting on guys that have been fast so far this season. But at some point, the JGR guys are going to get it together. And this is a fantastic track type for Chris Pennell. He's got it done here in the past. And this price, once again, is just a little bit too low in my opinion. And moving on to number 2, he could very easily be the number 1 play this weekend, as he has been the past couple of weeks, but it's Ross Chastain, $8,900 on DraftKings, $11,000 over on FanDuel, fresh off his first career Cup win last weekend at COTA. And he's been getting it done at each and every single track type so far, whether it be a super speedway, an oval, or a road course. Ross Chastain has been there, and he's also been in the optimal lineup 4 weeks in a row. And I would not be surprised if he makes it 5 in a row. Last year at short tracks, Ross Chastain did excel. He did finish second at Phoenix earlier this season, the only other short flat track that we have been to. And he is absolutely crushing it this season as far as his speed goes and as far as how he's just performed overall. He's basically first and second in any single statistical category so far this season, averaging the most DraftKings points per race, the best average finish, one of the best driver ratings, and 3 top 5s. And like I said, 4 optimal lineup appearances in a row, and that would not be surprised at all if he makes it 5 in a row. His price did rise close to $9,000, so this might keep some people off of him, but he was very popular last weekend. And when you're very popular and you win the race and you become optimal, there's a good chance people are going to play you once again. And his odds are very similar to Tyler Reddick, where these guys are near the very top of the list with guys like Logano, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, which is not something we'd usually see, especially the past couple of seasons. So the next-gen car seems to be very well benefiting Ross Chastain, and his pit crew has been very solid this year as well. And before we get into our next pick, I do want to talk about our sponsor, Prize Picks. They offer daily prop-based contests. You can use promo code Awesemo for a $100 first match deposit bonus. There's no sharks, optimizers, or mass entries. 5-player lineups can add up to 10 times your entry fee. Use your knowledge of multiple sports with cross-sport entries. You can download in the App Store, on Google Play, or use on prizepicks.com. Use our free player props tool to help you make the best selections. You can get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up and make a deposit at Prize Picks. You'll receive an email within 24 to 48 hours after to redeem your free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. And for my number 1 play for the Toyota Owners 400, it's no other than the man that absolutely dominates this track. Now, the Toyotas have not been great so far this year, like I mentioned with Christopher Bell, but at some point, they got to get it together. But it's Martin Truex Jr., $9,600 over on DraftKings, the 4th most expensive driver. Meanwhile, over on FanDuel, he's the most expensive driver, all the way up to $14,000. There's a big difference in pricing between the sites, and I would imagine it's going to make him pretty popular over on DK, even though it hasn't been the prettiest of starts of the season so far for Martin Truex. But it's hard to ignore his numbers at Richmond. And like I said, it's a new car this season, so everything has changed quite a bit. And he very well could not be the most dominant car, again, at Richmond, just the way the new car sets up and from what we've seen this season. But if you're betting on track history, Martin Truex Jr. is the guy to want at Richmond. We're talking nearly 100 DraftKings points per race over the past couple of seasons here. An average finish of 2.2, running position of 4.4. By far the best driver rating. He's won 50% of the races the past 3 years here. He's been in the top 5 each and every single time, over 100 laps led per race. By far the best dominator. Absolutely crushed short flat tracks last year. So it depends on what you want to bet on. You want to bet on so far from what we've seen in the next gen car, or do you want to look at the past track history here at Richmond? Personally, for me, I really like looking at what they've done in the next gen car this year. But if JGR looks somewhat solid in practice and qualifying, it's going to really want me to play some Martin Truex Jr. at that price point this weekend. So just to recap, at number 5, we have Austin Dillon. Number 4, Tyler Reddick. Number 3, Christopher Bell. Number 2, Ross Chastain. And number 1, Martin Truex Jr. And all these guys have either been very fast so far this season or have excellent track history at Richmond, or sometimes even both. So if you did end up enjoying today's content, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree with any of the takes I had today. We do love to hear your opinions and thoughts on these plays. Also, you can follow us on Sunday for the Live Before Lock show, where we'll break down the entire slate post-qualifying in practice and answer any questions you may end up having. With that being said, I wish you all the best of luck, and I'm very excited for our first real short track of the season.